not much to talk about on the football side. The hiring of Chris Jackson as the wide receivers coach is official. I was actually on my way home yesterday after recording the Longhorn Blitz podcast and saw the reports from some of the Jaguars beat writers that Chris Jackson had informed Doug Pederson that he was taking the Texas job. Remember, and I knew people were going to do this. Well, didn't he say he was not going to Texas? No. If you look at that tweet he put out, that was a non-denial denial. So left himself some cover. But this is, it goes back to everything we've talked about since the start, Craig. And again, for the sake of repeating myself, what I've said for the last week, I don't want to belabor the point with the wide receiver position because we've talked a lot about it. But Sark was really looking for, first and foremost, a guy that can develop the talent in that room.
Yep.
I feel like from a recruiting standpoint, and I know that Mike Roach has a story at Horns 24/7 right now if you want to get over there and look at Chris Jackson's potential impact as a recruiter. I feel like you've got enough guys who can help you recruit on this staff, and namely Jeff Banks. So there's the relationship is between those two that played together at Washington State. If you can have a guy like Jeff Banks piggyback some of those recruitments or help get your foot in the door in some of those recruitments, I think you're going to be fine. And I heard Rod make a great point about this on Bald Online yesterday afternoon. When you get down to recruiting's all about relationships. As long as you're not an a-hole and you can form relationships with people and communicate and relate with, the 16, 17, 18-year-olds in society today, you'll be able to recruit. That's no problem.
Right.
But furthermore, Sark's offense is one that sells itself at the receiver position. And I think when you've got a quarterback room with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning and Malik Murphy, and you see Sark's track record with receivers, look at the guys he's coached that are in the NFL right now, look at the number of draft picks he's produced, whether he's been an offensive coordinator or a head coach, a wide receiver, it speaks for itself. So I think the combination of, you've got a staff that we know has recruiting chops at Texas, they can recruit elite talent to Texas, on top of the fact that this offense is very receiver friendly. I don't see recruiting being a really big problem for Chris Jackson. Like I said, as long as he's able to form relationships with recruits and can be a people person, which I don't think Sark would have hired him if he didn't feel like he could do that.
No, because he wants all of them to be able to recruit. He wasn't hiring it, and I hope nobody thought this, that he wasn't hiring someone in a vacuum as with regards to recruiting. Like, I don't need a recruiter. I need a guy who can coach. You need all of the above with all of your coaches. Yeah. They all need to be able to recruit. They all need to be able to coach their positions. They all need to be able to develop talent. It all goes into it. I know it drew a lot of attention, and rightly so, about wanting to get a talent developer for the wide receiver spot, that the recruiting piece became not as critical as the other. But you still want a guy who can recruit.
I really think you look at the receivers coaches Texas has had over the last 20-plus years. Darryl Drake, I think, did the best job of filling both roles at an elite level in terms of being able to recruit elite talent. You talk to B.J. Johnson, Roy Williams, the guys that played for Darryl Drake were recruited by him. They'll tell you that he sold them on the program first and foremost, and then he developed talent. Darryl Drake put a lot of guys in the NFL, and we saw how much the NFL valued his ability to develop talent because he spent a vast majority of his career until his passing coaching in the National Football League. So Darryl Drake did both at a really high level. Bobby Kennedy, better recruiter than he was a developer of the position. I think Darrell Wyatt was pretty good at both. I don't think he was elite at either, but he was pretty good at both. Les Koenig was only here for a year. Charlie Williams was only here for a year, but I felt like in terms of being a developer, I feel like Charlie Williams got the most out of that receiver room. I mean, you go look at the number of 25, 30 catch seasons, whether it was Amani Foreman, Jake Oliver, Petey Warwick. I think Colin Johnson had 28 catches as a true freshman. I thought Charlie Williams got a lot. And Quan Cosby sold me on the Charlie Williams. I remember talking to Quan because he was Quan's position coach in Indianapolis. I remember talking to Quan after that hire, and Quan told me that Charlie Williams, and just in terms of being a coach, a developer, being able to relate to players would be really good. And I felt like for the 1 year he was. Drew Maringer, much better recruiter than he was coach of the position. Brennan Marion was only here for a year, so how much can you really say? Andre Coleman, probably a better developer of the position than he was a recruiter. So you can get both. It's just been a while since Texas has had both. Yeah. Or a guy that's been here for more than a year, where we can really figure it out.
That's true.